Happy Easter. It's time for another Hot Air Sports podcast. And more importantly, it's baseball's opening day. Come on, the Yankees.
Opening day and the Yankees lost.
Oh, yeah, whatever. There's still 161 more opportunities to make that right. So, you can't get too despondent after an extra innings loss. But we'll talk about that a bit more on in the show. What have you been up to sports-wise, mate?
Oh, mate, I've rediscovered my passion for my team. Rediscovered my passion for the Warriors. What a performance, mate, honestly. Oh, we'll go into that shortly as well. I mean, greatest comeback of all time. Absolutely phenomenal performance in that second half. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's Superman, mate. He's just phenomenal.
Leon McDonald.
We'll get into that.
Leon McDonald will be rubbing his hands together.
Mate, the All Blacks, eh? They might have a player there.
You reckon?
just a little bit. What a player.
Well, I think there could be a chap by the name of Jay Barrett that might say about that after his performance at the weekend. And of course, next year, Barrett will be back. So
that's true.
For the All Blacks in 2022.
And let's not forget Mr. McKenzie at the back for the Chiefs. He's not going too bad either, is he?
And of course, a young chap in Christchurch by the name of Will Jordan.
Michael's brother. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, he plays as well as Michael.
He does. What a player.
Absolutely.
Shall we get into football to start with, though, mate? Association football, to be precise, shall we?
Association football.
Well, it's been an international week this week. Our team's playing in the World Cup qualifiers in Qatar for Qatar in 2022, if it happens in 2022. Sounds like it probably will. Liverpool haven't been in action. England played 3-1-3. They flattered to deceive. Had a 2-1 win over Poland yesterday. Germany lost to North Macedonia. How would they go against South Macedonia, mate? That was a crazy result. Ireland actually got beat as well by was it Liechtenstein or no Luxembourg?
Luxembourg.
Yeah. Tiny little nations doing pretty well in the World Cup qualifying. Perhaps the biggest upset, though, that North Macedonia upset since England were beaten by Iceland. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I had a flick through the highlights yesterday, and the German team that was full of nobodies. I mean, there was Timo Werner was on the bench. Emre Can was playing left back, the former Liverpool midfielder.
Was Brendan Rodgers coaching them?
Yeah. And just a team full of no-names that I'd never heard of before. Most of them, they'd Joshua Kimmich in the middle of the park, the Bayern Munich player. But, there were very few names in that German team that are well-known. And, I think, Joachim Low has said he's gone after the Euro Championships. I think the current
maybe he should
might have been gone anyway.
Yeah, maybe he should have jumped before then, eh? I think Azerbaijan or someone are leading that group at the moment. It's a real tight group, but we're talking about pre-qualifiers for these World Cup things because the big teams are sick of playing all the small teams. Small teams aren't doing so bad. Maybe Ireland and Germany can have their own pre-qualifying tournament. Anyway,
right.
Also, Scotland unbeaten.
2 draws and a win. Great. I watched the first 2 of those games, 2 draws, and Scotland played some really nice football. And their coach Steve Clarke, the former Liverpool assistant, he's got quite a good squad together now. And Shay Adams, the Southampton striker, has really made an impact on that team. And he scored his first ever goal yesterday in the 4-0 win over the Faroe Islands. Talking about minnows, good squad.
I didn't know Shay Adams was Scottish, mate. Since when was he Scottish? This isn't another Shane Howard situation. They've discovered an old grandmother in the closet or something, have they?
It is his grandmother who is Scottish.
Okay.
Born in England. Just same as Scott McTominay, the Manchester United.
Oh, yeah.
He's born in Manchester, apparently. But his Scottish parents. I mean, McTominay. It's definitely a Scottish name. McTominay. But Scotland coming back twice from behind against Austria, playing very well. And John McGinn, the Aston Villa midfielder.
He's a good player.
Beautiful overhead kick to draw level, and I think it was about the 87th minute, which sent the sent the 10 fans in the crowd delirious. Let's move on from.
Hang on. Before we do, mate, Spain also topping their group with a 2-1 win over Georgia. And did you know Spain extended their unbeaten run in World Cup qualifying? We know how good England have been in World Cup qualifying. Spain extended their unbeaten run in World Cup qualifying to 66 matches, 52 wins and 14 draws. Their last defeat in a World Cup qualifier was way back on the 31st of March, 1993.
Wow.
When they lost one. It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. It's not too bad. So, Spain looking very, very good as well in the World Cup qualifiers.
Right. Well, I mentioned at the top of the show that it was Easter, so that means we're into April. And what does that normally mean when we're talking football? It's transfer rumour season. All sorts of rumours coming out. I saw Thierry Henry at Liverpool Airport.
What did he say?
Yeah.
Haaland's on his way. Mbappe's on his way.
Yeah.
Everyone's moving everywhere.
Liverpool have just come into a big financial windfall with a $500,000 investment, and we'll talk about $500,000.
Half a billion.
Yeah. $500 million pound investment.
Pounds.
So basically $1 billion. And we'll talk a bit more about overseas interests investing in sports a little bit later with another sport. But does that mean that Liverpool are going to be in for some of these big names, or are they going to rely on picking up some of these older players that have said their time has come and they want to leave clubs?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, look at what Klopp does. If Klopp's still the manager, he's not going to go out there and buy a whole bunch of great players. He's not going to do the thing that Pep did at City.
Guardiola.
No, he's not. He might pick one or two like he did with Van Dijk and Alisson. He might pick Haaland and say, right, he's going to be our, centerpiece for the next 10, 15 years. But I don't think that's the way he operates. I think he'll be more picking squad players, etc. The thing where he can pick up value, though, are maybe in the free market, in the free transfers. A number of players coming out of contract next year, including a certain Luis Suarez at Atletico Madrid. Rumours he's coming back. And also Sergio Aguero at Manchester City. They've let him go. Does that mean they may be getting Haaland or Mbappe? Who knows? But who would you prefer, mate? Aguero or Suarez, if we decided to pick up one of those?
As an aside, the date today is the 2nd of April. Yesterday, another date. And I noticed that Sergio Aguero actually signed for the Ellerslie Club in Auckland.
Oh, I did.
Northern League Division 1. So he's off the market.
I did see that as well. The thing is with April Fool's Day jokes, mate, they've got to be believable. Come on.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, well, the Crusaders announced that they'd signed Scott Robertson until 2065.
Don't they wish? I'd like to see him in his Zimmer frame.
Getting back to the Suarez Aguero situation.
I
would love to have Suarez back at Liverpool. He's not going to play every game, obviously, but if we can get 20 to 25 games a season out of him, whether that's starting or coming off the bench, he's going to score 10 or 15 goals. And it's that 10 or 15 goals that we've been missing out on from our backup players. Look back to when Robbie Fowler re-signed for Liverpool in 2005 after spells at Leeds and Manchester City. 11 goals in his 20 odd games. It's a pretty good return for an older player just coming back to help out a team.
Absolutely, mate. And do you think Barcelona are missing him this year? I mean, they let him go on a free. He went to Atletico. They thought, he's too old. His legs are gone. He's leading the way in the La Liga, top goal scorer. So, the guy can score goals. I mean, we discussed this during the week with a friend of ours, Martin Reed, who said, when has a player come back and never been the same player? And I agree with him. That probably has never happened except for maybe Rush, but he was only gone away for a year or so. But he's not going to be the same player he was. He's not going to score 30, 40 goals. But if he scores 15 in 20 appearances or 25 or 30 appearances off the bench, then he's done a job. And also he's an older guy. He's seen it all. He could be like a Gary McAllister to our other guys up front. You know, he could show them how to score goals when they've got those packed defenses. I'd love to see Suarez back. And also the fact that it would piss off every other team in the Premiership because he's a biter and he's a nasty piece of work. We need a little bit of nastiness in our team. I'd love to see him back.
Quite right. Yeah, and I mean, Suarez is not this Luis Suarez that he was at Liverpool. You know, he's lost a couple of yards of pace. You know, he's more of your stereotypical number 9 now. You know, getting the ball, winning it, not sprinting past defenders.
And laying it off in the right areas. Exactly, mate.
You look at the goal he scored against Liverpool in that first leg of that Champions League semi-final. It was just
exactly that. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I definitely prefer Suarez over Aguero. I think Aguero's legs are pretty much gone now. You know, he would probably still score.
He would
10, 12 goals for you if he played 20 to 25 games or appeared in 20 to 25 games. But yeah, I think if anything, I think probably Klopp would prefer somebody like Suarez.
Yeah, he's a bit of a sick note, eh? I mean, I do like Aguero, but I just can't see him coming to Liverpool either. I think because of what he achieved at City, he'll want to maintain that legacy there. He'll probably piss off and go and play for Barcelona or Atletico Madrid, or maybe even go back to Argentina, I'd say. Suarez to Liverpool, please make it happen. Perhaps heading for the exit rumours of Roberto Firmino maybe going the other way and going to Atletico Madrid. He's one of your favourite players, Macca. You wouldn't like to see that, would you?
No, obviously not, because I love him as a player, but I think his performances over the last year have dropped a bit compared to his first 4 years at the club. He's not as influential in that top half of the field now that he was. I mean, yes, he still has good games here and there, but he's not definitely not as consistent as he was over those 3 to 4 years, his first years at the club.
Yeah, he's played a lot of football over the last couple of years as well, man. I think you know, the legs just look a little bit gone. I think maybe though, if he had a nice off season, he could be. It definitely does, actually. It definitely depends on who we get in. You know, if we got in Haaland and Suarez, then probably we would let him go. But if we don't get anyone, we got to keep Firmino. But that's the way I look at it anyway. Very strong rumours on the other side of the pitch, the other end of the pitch, the defensive end, that Liverpool are going to sign defender Ibrahima Konate from RB Leipzig. Does this mean the end for Ozan Kabak, the Turkish guy we bought in January, if we sign him, or can we sign them both?
I would love to see them both stay. I've been impressed with Kabak in those games, and by all accounts, he played pretty well for Turkey over the international break.
He did, actually.
They had a big win in the first game. They beat the
Dutch
3-0. Clean sheet. So, yeah, he's obviously performing at international level as well. I would like to see them. I'm quite big on this Konate.
He's a beast, man. He's built like a shithouse. He really is. He's, you know, Upamecano, the guy that plays in the central defence for him. He's often, Konate's often been pushed out wide, playing right back. I think he looks more like a centre back to me, but he's only 21. He's just got so much potential. We got him and Kabak as backups for Van Dijk, and you've already got Gomez. There's 4 first-teamers. We can't rely on Matip, can we? We can't rely on him. So, and then you've got Phillips as a backup, you know? I mean, that's a pretty good backline, even if we have injuries. So, mate, I'd love to sign them both. Love to sign them both.
Yeah,
Kabak, I'm just not sure about his pace, but...
Well, both Konate and Gomez can also fill in at right back as well.
That's true. That's true.
Covering that extra base at right back. I mean, I know we've got Trent's the mainstay, obviously, Alexander-Arnold, and Nico Williams is obviously his backup. But it would give a bit more stability back there to have those two guys that can also play right back, and obviously it strengthens your centre back stocks as well. Which
absolutely,
and we've had problems with.
Don't have to put Fabinho back there anymore, please. Never. He should never play centre back again because he's just too good in the midfield. And also, just this morning, mate, mention of Liverpool interest in the Leipzig captain Marcel Sabitsa. I've always liked this guy. What do you think of him?
Yeah, he's a good player. He plays very much in the same vein as Gini Wijnaldum. And of course, as looking like leaving at the end of this season. So I think that would be an ideal replacement for Ginny. So yeah,
we're going to have a team of 1,000 because we're signing all these players. Also, former Manchester United man Memphis Depay is mentioned in dispatches. He's going to be a free this summer. He's only 27. He's been playing well in France. Barcelona also interested, of course, because the Dutch coach, what's his name? I always forget this guy's name. The guy that was the Everton coach, the coach of Barcelona.
Oh, Koeman.
Ronald Koeman. Ronald Koeman obviously has links with him. Would you be interested in taking Memphis Depay?
No, thanks.
Well, we got to say no to someone. Why would you not choose? Why would you not like him?
I've never rated him as a player. Never rated him. Just a bit too flighty for me.
Yeah.
Gives up too easily. Loses the ball and just shrugs his shoulders. I don't rate him. And lots of players look good playing in France.
Yeah. He's one of those sort of players, man. He looks fantastic going forward, Yeah. And then when he's defending, he's like, someone else get me the ball. I don't know whether I'd have him either. I don't think he's a Klopp type of player either. So I can't see him coming. Just so many rumours though, mate. It looks like we're going to have a brand new team next season. Forget next season though. Let's concentrate on this season.
Quite right.
The draw's been done for the Champions League. We're going to avoid Bayern Munich and Manchester City until at least the final. Can we win the Champions League this year, Macca? Can we do it?
Well, we've won it with worse teams, haven't we?
Yes.
When you
we certainly have.
5, we had a pretty good team when we won it a couple of years ago. Of course, we can win the Champions League. All we need, hopefully the Klopp's taken advantage of this 3-week break, and because the Brazilian players, they didn't go away for international break. They've had a chance to rest up. And
Trent's had 3 weeks off.
Trent's had 3 weeks off. Quite a few players have actually had 3 weeks off. So I think this stretch from now till the end of the season, I can see us regaining some of that form that won us the Premier League last year. And
you're making me feel good. You made me feel good, Macca.
It's all going to kick off this weekend with a big trip to the Emirates Stadium. It's a big one against Arsenal. I think it means more to us than it does to Arsenal. So hopefully we can go into that game with a bit of confidence and some fresh legs. And
the only worry I've got about Arsenal is that a few days after we've got Real Madrid. So I think that our focus could be a little bit on Real Madrid rather than Arsenal, because I don't think that Arsenal game, it's a bit to us, but the Real Madrid game's the game.
We've got 5 points to make up for Champions League. It means something. Don't worry about that.
Okay. Well, good. Okay, I'll go and put some money on Liverpool to beat Arsenal then. And if they don't win, I'll be taking that up with you.
And such a shame that Real Madrid will be missing Sergio Ramos from those two.
Oh, is he not going to be playing?
No, unfortunately, broken a toenail and 6 weeks.
Oh, toenail. Poor Sergio.
Yeah, no, he's I don't know what he's done. He injured himself in one of the Spanish games. So, but he's out for about 4 weeks, I think.
Oh, is he? Oh, it's tough luck. He's just a bit scared. Obviously, he doesn't want to come to Anfield, I reckon, even when there's no crowd there. Your wife has decided to scrap the financial fair play rules, Macca. Can you believe this? Here we go, to allow clubs to have more control over their finances. Did they ever work? How many clubs were actually punished under these rules? And ones that were, I don't even know. Why did they bother to start with?
Full distance. Manchester City shouldn't be in this year's Champions League.
No, I know. It's absolutely crazy when you look at the money that Barcelona and Real Madrid spend as well. When Barcelona, not that we can complain when they took Coutinho off our hands for 140 million, but where did they get the money from? And how can they, they just sign player after player after player, and then they show their, control over their finances. Did you see the finances of Barcelona the other day? They're nearly bankrupt.
They are
and the whole thing is with Barcelona, they're owned by the fans. So what they do, they have elections. The president promises a whole bunch of stuff. All the fans vote. They go, yep, he's in. And then they don't deliver. They vote him out. Someone else promises a whole bunch of stuff, and he comes in and does it. And it's like there's no one controls any finances. It's just who can we get in to make everyone happy? It's madness, mate. There's no financial fair play.
They also do get a real stack of money from TV. You think the Sky Sports deals in England are a big, 140 billion pounds.
Yeah.
It's petty cash compared to the money that Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid get from Spanish TV.
Crazy, eh? Yep, the money is crazy in football, Macca.
Certainly
not
is.
so crazy. Not so crazy in cricket, though.
No,
that's pretty good.
Right,
pretty good if you're Kyle Jamieson, but
if you're Kyle Jamieson, yeah.
The Black Caps, though, mate. Let's move to cricket, shall we? The Black Caps with the T20 series. They won the T20 series 3-0 over the little Dishies, the poor old Dishies. They scored 141 for 4 last night at a bit of a rain-soaked Eden Park, and then skittled the Dishies for just 76. What, if anything, did we learn from this Bangladesh tour of New Zealand, Macca?
That we're playing good cricket.
Yeah.
And Bangladesh have still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, Bangladesh remind me of Sri Lanka in the 1980s.
Yeah.
They're just about there, but they're just not there, and they just need a couple of world-class players.
They have got some very good players. Like
they do.
Shakib Al Hassan, who we didn't see on this tour. He is world class, but unfortunately he's the only one they've got, and he's coming to the end of his career. So, which is a bit of a shame. They're just lacking, a decent fast bowler. I don't think I've seen any of the Bangladesh bowlers get up over 140 kilometres an hour. So, they're struggling a bit. And as you say, they're going through exactly what Sri Lanka went through in the 90s and 80s. So, I'm sure they'll improve. They have their moments. They're pretty strong at home. They're very hard to beat at home, as the Black Caps of about 5 or 6 years ago found out.
Yeah.
The one-day series and drew the Test series. But they're forward thinking in the fact that they've got somebody like Daniel Vittori helping coach.
Yeah.
So they're not short of ideas on that front. So and
they're pretty good. They're pretty good at age group cricket as well. They've got some good. They always seem to have some good youngsters coming through. So I hope they can pick it up. One thing that we did learn, obviously, is that Devon Conway can bat. What a player, mate! That guy is awesome.
That Conway guy.
He can play. He can play. He's now ranked 4th best batsman in the world in T20 cricket after just 1 year of cricket. Is it time that we put him in the team for all 3 forms?
Yep. He's got to play in that. He's got to play in England in the World Test Championship.
Has to.
And the Test Series. Yeah, selectors put him at number 6, or move Nichols down to 6, or Taylor down to 5 and put him in at 4.
I'd probably put him in at 4 so that you break up the left-hand, right-hand thing. You put him at 4, Roscoe at 5, Nichols at 6, and that's a pretty good batting lineup. And then you've got, wicket keeper at 7 and 4 good bowlers. I mean, we should be, it's a pretty good side. The other thing we learned, of course, Finn Allen, new player to the Black Caps squad. He didn't do too much in his first game. Bloody hell, he was pretty impressive last night, wasn't he? 71 off 29.
That's not a bad effort. With Conway, the other thing is if they want to keep Tom Blundell opening, perhaps he has to keep. It would be hard on BJ Watling, obviously.
Would you?
Well,
I'm
just throwing out options. I'm not saying which is the best option. Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, these are good problems to have, aren't they? Who to fit in the side, rather than trying to make up a side. And this is where New Zealand cricket's gone from strength to strength over the last 4 or 5 years. It's like not who we can make up the team with. It's like, who do we leave out? So that has to be good for New Zealand cricket. We've built some amazing depth in both the bowling recently and now the batting. It looks like the batting's got some good depth as well. So
Yep.
Mate, it's fantastic time to be a Black Cap supporter, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Our next matches, though, are 2 test matches in June in England. Barring injury, how do you expect our team to look? Well, we've discussed that. These matches are effectively warm-up matches, of course, for the World Test Championship against India on the 18th to the 23rd of June. So we've got 3 test matches in June, 2 against England, 1 against India, all in England, and they all start at 10 o'clock at night. How you going to go for that, mate? You bought your extra coffee and your Red Bull?
I might be watching it when I get up in the morning. I think I value my sleep too much.
I think I'll try and catch the first session most nights, and then I'll see how we go. But I think I value my sleep at this age too much as well, mate. The doctor wouldn't be too impressed if I stayed up 5 nights, but I don't know.
We'll see how we go after the first 3 or 4 days, and then maybe a late night.
Yeah, an all-nighter for the 4th or 5th day. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right. Anything else in cricket, mate? We good?
No, I think that pretty much just about covers what we've got to talk about in cricket. Oh, apart from the fact that I noticed across the Tasman, Steve Smith's come out and said he wants to be the Australia captain again. Is that a yes from you or a no from you?
It's a fuck off from me. Sorry, Steve, mate. You're a dirty cheat. Yeah. Just you're a batsman, mate. Just stay being a batsman. How can you? Does he? Just doesn't learn his lesson. I mean, it's like he gets banned for a little bit, and then I want to be this. Oh, I want to be that. I want to be number 4. I want to be the captain. It's like, well, mate, sorry. Just stick to your batting, stick to your knitting, and shut up.
Yeah. Quite right. That's enough of that.
Yeah, that's enough. To the mighty sport of rugby league.
Oh, how was that game on the weekend, mate? I was at the Crowded House concert because I didn't see the game, and
that must be before we go. That must be the most irresponsible thing to do in a pandemic. Go to a Crowded House concert, mate.
Quite right.
Just terrible. Anyway.
This guy came and sat down at our table where we were having dinner and said, "Oh, mate, did you see the Warriors score?" I said, "No, I haven't got a clue what happened." And he told me, and I was like, "Oh, wish I'd seen that,
mate." You didn't catch a replay?
No.
Oh, you got to try if you can catch a replay. Forget the first half. Okay. It was 31-10 shortly after half time, 31-10. We actually didn't play that bad in the first half, just a couple of mistakes. And before you know it, we were down by about 20 points. And it was just like, man, they just were smashing us. It was a hot day. But the thing was, they had a couple of guys that had a head clash. So a couple of those guys went off. Another guy went off with an injury. So they were down to 1 on the bench. So even at halftime, even though I thought, we hadn't played bad and they had only 1 on the bench, I thought, man, we could be in this. I am the eternal optimist as a Warriors fan, but it's still, I was like, we're not really. It's the pain of being a Warriors fan, It's just, I've just got to wear it like a badge and just watch the second half regardless, whatever come what may. But once we scored that first try, we got on a roll. They started wilting. We started coming. We got the bounce of the ball for once, or the flight of the ball, because it was a clear forward pass in one of those tries. But who the hell cares? We've been nobbled by them so many times after a year of pandemics in sport, not quite being the same without crowds and a perceived lack of enthusiasm from players in all sports, I reckon. Yeah. I felt like I might have been slightly falling out of love with sport because I hadn't seen anything which had really got me off my seat for quite a while. I felt like a slightly, maybe not so much a jilted love, a more a neglected one. However, this game helped me regain my passion and realize why sport is really the greatest of unwritten storied entertainment. The pain at halftime, the ecstasy at full time, all the emotions in between, man. The love affair is back on, baby, and rugby league is my aphrodisiac. I absolutely love that game. Oh, well honestly, mate, I absolutely love that game. I got tingles in the loins and I was smiling all night after it. It was just a fantastic game. Absolutely loved it. And when you look at the players, I'll go through the players. Ben Murdoch, Marcel and Adam Whenua Blake up front. Really solid Sean O'Sullivan. He debuted in the halves for Chanel Harris-Tavita, who's out injured. Adam Pompey, powerhouse performance in the centres. Cody Nikorima decided to finally run the ball in the second half. He scored an amazing try, which he handled 3 times, and he finally ran. I was like, run, man. He was so good. And Roger, Superman. Choo-hoo! It's our year. Go the Warriors. Oh, mate, it was
saying that he reckon, or Monty Beetham's called it the best performance by a player in a Warriors jersey since the club was founded in 1995. Is it hyperbole from Monty or an accurate assessment?
It probably is a little bit high, a little bit. He's probably stretching it a little bit, but by God, that was the best performance by a guy in a Warriors jersey from since Stacey Jones, probably. I mean, just phenomenal. He was just everywhere. It was like, there he is again. What is again? And then, what are you 252 meters running, 2 line breaks, 1 try. And then you think we've got the game won, and then we kick it out on the full, give them a penalty. I think we're going to lose this. No, after coming this far, we're going to lose again. And then it looks like they're going to get the try in the corner. And I thought he'd actually scored it. I thought Rapana had scored in the corner. I didn't see the flying Roger Tuivasa-Sheck. And when I say flying, man, there's photos of him off the ground, vertical. I mean, horizontal, flying.
The red cape on.
Just an incredible tackle, knocking the ball out, winning us the game. What a player. I think the All Blacks might have got a bit of a player there for them for next year, mate. He's a hell of a player.
Well, you're waxing lyrical about the game. The Canberra coach, Ricky Stewart, wasn't exactly endowed with it and is being investigated for abusing the referee after the contentious forward pass that you mentioned cost his team a try. And he's out of the press conference. What did you make of Ricky's antics?
Yeah, he's just a dickhead when it comes to that sort of thing, mate. He's just, I mean, if he coached the Warriors, he'd be fined every week. I mean, we just get bad calls against us all the time, Look, it was the bounce of a ball. He said he was very proud of his team and all that sort of thing, but there's obviously a beef between him and Henry Perenara. When he started coaching the Canberra Raiders, apparently Perenara was a player. He dropped him. So there's something going on there. It was the way the forward pass. It was almost, but because he threw it, it looked like it was backward out of the hand. It was one of those ones that sort of looked like it could have, it definitely drifted forward.
Yeah.
But the way Perenara was running and he turned side on and he looked at the ball. He almost looked like he was stopping. So it looked like he was going to give it. And then he just carried on running. So he was sort of looking at the touch judge going, are you going to call that forward? No, I've got it fine as well. So now they're talking about putting a chip in the ball so that they can tell whether the pass is forward. Because of one forward pass the Warriors got for them. It's just ridiculous. Pull your head in, Ricky. It's one game.
Putting a chip in the ball is not going to achieve it because it does come out of the hands backwards, but floats forward.
I know. Just leave it as is, mate. Let the guys on the field call it. Also, you're trying to speed up the game. Doing something like that's going to slow it right down.
I had to laugh on the watching the back page the other night. They were talking about the game, and I think it was James Hooper might have said that Ricky should forget about the referee's decision and everything else around the referees, and just worry about the fact that his team coughed up 28 points in the second half. That's what he should be getting upset about.
Exactly, mate. I mean, just concentrate on the game. He's always focused on the outside stuff. And mate, in the end, 2 points to the Warriors, 0 for Canberra. And that's just tough titties, Ricky. Sorry about that, buddy. There's also talk of Jason Taumalolo playing Origin for Queensland this year. Can you believe this? The eligibility criteria is all up the duff. I just think they should keep it as is. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they've got a great product there. They know exactly what all you're trying to do is drum up more interest in it by putting, a guy who's a great player in there. He was a Kiwi, then he was a Tongan, now he's a Queenslander.
Yeah.
Don't believe it. Yeah. And Roosters halfback Luke Keary has suffered a season-ending injury. The Roosters got rolled by the Bunnies. Too. That was an awful injury.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's an ACL. He's out for the season. The Roosters got rolled by the Bunnies, 26-16. I don't think the Roosters can go back-to-back without Keary. He's a class halfback. Yesterday, actually, there was a good one a good meme on the 1st of April saying that they'd signed Adam Reynolds from the South Sydney for the rest of the season. I was like, what? Couldn't believe it. And then I thought, oh, no, that was actually quite believable. So it was actually quite good. But that's the sort of thing the Roosters would do as well. They're just the mercenaries of the NRL. They just go out and get anyone, pay the money and a brown paper bag to get him, you know?
They've got some serious injury problems at the moment too.
They do.
They've got about 6 players out, and they're going to be starting a couple of 18-year-olds this weekend.
Oh, mate, it's so sad. Poor Roosters. And you know who they've got this weekend?
The Warriors.
They are the Warriors. Can't wait for our forward pack to run over a couple of 17-year-olds. That's going to be fun.
Another team that's struggling at the moment, the Manly Sea Eagles. They are struggling big time.
Yeah, poor old Desi. He just can't get him up and running, mate. And there's lots of talk about Daly Cherry Evans getting paid way too much money. He's apparently on about $1.5 million a year, about $500,000 more than any other of his teammates. And there's a big disparity between that, which is creating all sorts of things in the dressing room. And he's just not playing up to that sort of coin either. They got absolutely smashed 46-6 to the Panthers last night. Panthers just look awesome at the moment. And the Seagulls, I just don't know where they're going to go, mate. They're going to go straight to the bottom. They're going to be battling it out with the Bulldogs and the Broncos at the bottom, I reckon. And the Cowboys, of course, because they look absolutely terrible as well. They lost their first 3 games. Todd Payton, the Warriors coach last year, must be absolutely tearing his hair out if he had any to tear out, wondering why he didn't just stay put. And in the Warriors job, Jason Taumalolo out for a few more weeks, and Origin star Michael Morgan now as well, looking a potential medical retirement due to ongoing chronic shoulder injuries. I feel really sorry for Todd Payton, actually. He did so well with the Warriors last year.
And the first couple of games when he did have Jason Taumalolo, he wasn't exactly overly impressed with him, was he?
No. Well, that's what you get.
Come out and said something that you know.
Pull your finger out and start playing, mate. I mean, the guy signed a 10-year deal. I mean, how do you get motivation from that? I mean, I don't know. That was just a crazy deal. So, Taumalolo, great player, but you've got to get on the field, mate. And so many teams injuries, of course. That was the other talking point after round 3. So many teams going down to 1 or some of them even none on the bench. There's talk of an 18th man being introduced for injury replacements. Maybe we could get Ruben Wiki on our bench or Stacey Jones. Maybe they should just say they can only be over 40s players or something like that. It could make it quite interesting.
Well, I did see that, and I've seen since it was announced that a lot of players and past and present players have come out and said, no, don't be so stupid. It's the first time it's actually ever happened.
Thank you.
You've had these injuries in 1 week, and then suddenly you're hitting the panic button. Just let everything settle down, get on with the game, and you won't need an 18th man. And I've got to agree with them there.
Yeah.
When you start doing that, and so you have another bad week, and another team has, their 18th man gets injured.
We have a 19th man.
Well, how about a 19th man?
And then teams will start playing fake injuries and all sorts of stuff like that will come into it. I agree. Look, the Warriors have had it. I can remember numerous times the Warriors have been down to 1 or 2 on the bench. It just happens. It's a contact sport. It is fast. The game is going very fast this year. I mean, these new rules have definitely sped it up. It's great to watch. And the collisions are pretty crazy. The one for the Canberra team, I don't suppose you saw it. Sean O'Sullivan, this is a little guy. He basically ducked between the 2 props, and the two Canberra props collided and then fell on top of each other, and he went right through the bottom. It was actually a crazy thing. And then they both lay there unconscious on top of each other, and they stopped the game, and then they tried to bring one of them back on afterwards, and you're like going, dude, you're so unconscious. So no, they both went off, and I mean that was just that can just happen in any game of rugby. Any game, people collide. It just happens. So no, I'd keep it the same, mate. I mean, it makes it interesting anyway, and it allows for the little guys to sort of run around a little bit more. I quite like seeing the little guys running at tiring big men. So keep it as is. The other thing that I just want to mention just before we get off rugby league, mate, Northcote Tigers legend John Fu passed away a week or so ago. He was a gentle giant, an awesome ball-playing prop, and a star for Northcote and Fox Memorial and national championships of the mid and late 80s. He was the twin of Peter Fu, the two props, John and Peter Fu. They were legends in their time at Northcote, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Very sadly missed. Never forgotten by all the Northcote League Club. I do remember after the 87 grand final, all the team turning up in their blazers afterwards. And we were like, everyone there except for the Fu boys. We were like, where are the Fu boys? Is that the club? Afterwards, they're like, no, the Fu boys don't come until after 8 because they don't like wearing ties. So they just waited out in the car park in their swan dries and stuff until after 8 o'clock, and then they come in the club. They're just bush boys. They were just such good dudes, really lovely men. And rest in peace. Just a fantastic rugby league player, John Fu.
Yes, I actually remember watching the Fu brothers on TV back in those days, where the Fox, the national championships and the Fox Memorial, they were always on TV. This is obviously pre-Warriors days.
Yeah, Tony Palmer doing the commentary.
Yeah, Tony Palmer doing the commentary at Carlaw Park.
Yeah,
and that was the days of the Lomax brothers for Wainui Armada and Ken Laban.
Absolutely
for them. Great days of National Rugby League, and I remember the Fu brothers. They really stood out, didn't they?
They did, didn't they?
They both had the big hair.
Huge hair and big guys, man. They were big all over. They were big lads, but they could play. They weren't just big boppers. They had real ball skills, man. They used to pop balls out the back. They were really good players. So love the Fus. Love the Fus.
Yes, rest in peace, John.
Yeah, absolutely, John. So we go to rugby union, mate. The other code.
Rugby union, and there's been a lot of off-field action going on over this last week. The New Zealand Rugby Players Association and New Zealand Rugby are in the middle of mediation talks over the proposed nearly $500 million investment by American tech company Silver Lake, with the Players Association and a number of senior All Blacks speaking out against the investment. Their biggest concerns are for the grassroots game, also the concerns around a separate commercial company being established and funds not being directed to the game instead of going to what really is basically the promotional side of the game. Setting up a company with all that money. I mean, it's promoting the game of rugby, but you're not attracting players, are you, by doing that? The other issues, keeping All Blacks and coaches in New Zealand. Obviously, talk this week that if the Silver Lake deal doesn't get across the line, we're going to lose the likes of Scott Robertson
to England. That would be awful, wouldn't it?
Exactly. And the New Zealand Maori board are worried the haka will be exploited. And Mickey the dog getting a bit excited about it.
Doesn't like this deal.
No, he doesn't. But on the other hand, on the breakdown program on Sky Sport during the week, Sir John Kerwin has come out and says, please trust New Zealand Rugby. Do you trust New Zealand Rugby, the office boffins in Wellington?
No, I've never trusted them.
Trusting New Zealand Rugby. And 10 years ago, I did some work for the Players Association. So, worked alongside Rob Nichol and Dave Gibson, who's now Harbour.
Yeah.
But, these guys are not kicking up a stink for no reason at all. I mean, people you see comments on Facebook about, the greedy players, all they want is to fill their own pockets. Well,
if they wanted to fill their own pockets, they wouldn't be in New Zealand.
Exactly.
Let's be honest. They'd be over in France or Japan.
And France and England.
No, that's just ignorant. That's just ignorant comments. Yeah.
And I mean, at the concert that I was at, I met up with this guy who I won't name his name, but he is on the board of New Zealand Rugby. And we got talking about different things, and I said to him, is this deal, the grassroots going to see much of this money? And he said, absolutely. And then, when I started to ask a few more challenging questions, he pretty much shut me down and just started looking at his phone and didn't really want to engage. So I found that quite interesting. But it has also come out this week that rumours, again, that all the heartland unions are going to get $500,000 and the top flight unions are going to get $1 million. I don't know whether I agree with just handing out cash. Here's a bucket of money.
Do they have to tell them where it goes?
Well, what they need to do is provide resources for the clubs right at the very club level. The clubs
dishing out money like that, man, and that you have they not learned any lessons from the previous, the way the unions. Oh gosh, this is there's a thing called history, where you learn what's gone before. When you look at the provincial makeup of New Zealand and the problem the unions have, yes, that money could be a godsend, but do we really trust it in the hands of the local treasurer or whatever when they go, oh well, I've got this money, you're getting a rise and you're getting a rise, and who knows where that money's going to go? It needs to actually go into what is required in those unions, and is there going to be any due diligence around that? I severely doubt it.
One thing I said to this guy on Saturday night was, and I can only speak on behalf of Greytown because that's where I live. The rugby club only has 3 junior teams. The football club, a couple of blocks away, has 20 junior teams.
Yeah.
And that's happening right around the country. Kids, parents don't want their kids to play rugby because
head injuries and stuff. Yeah.
And I don't know what the situation is in rugby league. I'm sure it's probably similar.
It is similar.
But the rugby union this week has come out with, and North Harbour are the first union to pick it up. And in junior rugby, no scrums or lineouts. I don't know whether that's going to make much difference because
it's going to be a different game. It's going to, you're playing ripper rugby with no scrums, no lineouts. It's basically just touch rugby, isn't it? But there's that. I don't think that's a bad thing for kids up to a certain age. I think introduce tackle later on. Maybe I don't know what age, 12, 14, something like that. And, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a tough one. When you look at sports like rugby and rugby league and you watch the top end of it, we watch it for precisely the reason that parents don't want their kids to play it.
Yeah.
We watch it for the contact and the contest and the physicality of it. But that's at the top end, and that's not what the sport it should be all about. And coming back to the money thing, if they do give the unions a certain pot of money, are they going, is it going to be invested in the right areas? That's my concern, where the people in those clubs, like the coaches, especially coaches, man, we need to invest in coaches. They're the people that inspire youngsters. They're the people that keep people at the club, and volunteers. And, I don't know. It's a tough one, man. It's a real tough one. Look, ultimately though, what's your thoughts on this whole thing? Obviously, like you said, the Players Association aren't complaining for no reason. So you think there obviously has to be some more thought put into it before they sign off on all this?
Yeah, they're not against the investment as such. I think they're a bit skeptical about where it's coming from. A tech company wanting to invest in New Zealand rugby, are they doing?
It does seem strange
to increase their share price. What are the reasons that they're doing it for? I'm pretty sure that Bob Smith, who works for the tech company in the States, couldn't give 2 hoots about New Zealand rugby.
But he loves the brand All Blacks. I think that's probably what it is. They're wanting to tag on with the brand, where they think it's a high echelon sporting brand and they want a piece of it. They want to, but see, are they right to be able to sell that? Isn't that, this is the whole thing. It's almost like, 10 years ago when we had AIG, and 10 years before that when we had Steinle, it's always been little bits. They've sold little bits here and there, and they've always said, no, we will keep control of it, though. We've still got New Zealand rugby keeping control of it. Well, now they're actually talking about selling an actual piece of it,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's actually giving away. Are you giving away too much? It's a tough one. As all that money, it just you see the figures and you go, wow, sign, but are you, 10 years...
a bucket of money is not going to solve their problems.
No.
It's
and they've got more problems off the field. Almost on the field now with things like maintaining coaches and the structure of the New Zealand rugby competition at the moment. Those are the things they need to be focusing on. keeping the coaches here, keeping the players here, formulating the right competitions in this country. That's the sort of stuff they should be focusing on. But
yeah, absolutely. And I still don't think they've got that right.
No. So how can we trust New Zealand rugby?
If we heard this week that the current NPC format's going to remain the same for this year after the big song and dance at the end of last year, saying it was going to be North and South pools.
I know.
Culminating in playoffs. I mean, come on, let's just get the competition sorted. Leave them alone. Leave them alone for 10 years. Let them bed in. And,
exactly.
Super Rugby's we've had 7 different versions of Super Rugby. There's probably another 10 to come.
Exactly. They should have just stuck with the Super 12 when they had the Super 12. No, Super 14, Super 15, Super 6. Now we got it's just like, then we got conferences. And see, these are the reasons we don't trust the New Zealand Rugby Union, because they get these things wrong all the time. So for us to just say, trust them, well, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Anyway, should we get onto the field? Should we get onto the field?
Yeah, we could, because it's pretty much the champion Crusaders are 8 points clear at the top of Super Rugby Aotearoa, with the remaining 4 teams all within 5 points of each other, battling for a second playoff. It's going to be an interesting second half of the season, starting tonight, obviously, with the Crusaders up against the Highlanders in the Southern Derby. And then
Highlanders missing a few players.
Highlanders, yes, they're in trouble, aren't they? Tony Brown has added 6 players for the next couple of weeks after they had
Good on him.
They didn't have a party at Tony Brown's place. They had a party at Josh Ioane's place.
Yeah, good on him, mate. I don't know what happened. I heard the cops were called and stuff like that. And I just think if you got to set the standards. That was the night they went out for Aaron Smiths. I mean, they obviously had a party there, and then they just decided, we're going to continue it. I mean, cops were called at 3 or 4 in the morning. I mean, come on, guys. Yeah. I mean, why don't you just go inside? Why? It's just
some key players in that 6 as well.
I know.
Michaeli Tu'u, Josh Ioane himself.
Yep.
Oh yeah, big faux pas on their behalf.
So the Crusaders will win that one then.
Yeah,
so lay down.
I think so. And then the Blues facing a resurgent Hurricanes after they had a big win.
Thanks to Geordie.
Week. Yeah. And so, interesting games this weekend with the Blues losing their last 2 and the Hurricanes winning their last 2. So,
are we going to have a final this year?
There is a final planned. Yes.
Oh, that's good. They got that
versus one of those other teams.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the final. I think you're right. Crusaders Blues final, and the Blues taking it out. Okay, current NPC.
Yeah. Oh, well, we've talked about the current NPC. That's staying.
Oh, yeah. Tell me a little bit about what's going on in Australia, mate. I haven't seen any of the Australian Super Rugby. What's going on over there?
Leading the way there with Brad Thorne's side unbeaten at the halfway stage. They beat the Brumbies a couple of weeks back and then disposed of the Western Reds last weekend. The Reds lead by 3 points over the Brumbies, with the Rebels third, a further 5 points back, with the Force ahead of the winless Waratahs, who sacked their coach Rob Penny this week.
Oh.
So, the former Canterbury forward has been sacked by New South Wales, and he came out kicking and fighting, saying that nobody else is going to be able to do a better job. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And hard luck for poor old Sammy Kane. Has done an injury. Going to have him out of the game for 4 to 6 months. Those pectoral injuries are buggers, aren't they?
Yeah, man. There was a real rugby league injury for a while there, and now obviously rugby changing the rules and obviously being a lot more, gym work and all that sort of exercises, and also the collisions on the field. There's more of those sorts of injuries. Those are horrible injuries. Horrible. And you think about I feel so sorry for Sam Cane. He's just such a tough bastard, and he's just seems to just get injury after injury after injury. He's certainly not made of glass, but he just puts himself at just such peril. That's his job. Number 7.
You often see that with players like Kane. You think back to rugby league days, guys like Bradley Clyde was one who played
yeah.
at 100 miles an hour, but he was injured every season. You know, he was out for 3 or 4 games every season. Guys like that just throw themselves into the game.
Wayne Pearce is another one.
Wayne Pearce, guys like that. And
Wayne Pearce,
Sam,
he only played
some really good rugby.
Absolutely.
And had a good season for the All Blacks last year. I thought he was one of my All Blacks.
Oh, definitely. I mean, even though he was, first, it was a bloody tough season for him as captain for the first time. And mate, he was awesome last season.
Yeah.
So I just feel so sorry for him. So who's going to be All Black captain then?
Well, yeah, that's the next interesting question, isn't it? Who will lead the side? I mean, Artie Savia is captain of the Hurricanes this year, so is he going to go? Or Sam Whitelock?
Whitelock, I suppose, he's the obvious choice.
He was a favourite before they announced Sam Cane, and I think a lot of people, including myself, would have preferred Sam Whitelock to start with. But as you said, Sam Cane did a very good job, and it was disappointing to see some of the comments on social media this week. There are some absolute idiots out there.
Plonkers, eh?
Absolute plonkers.
So what about
rugby in their life, but say good riddance to Sam Cane. Good riddance to you, pal. Whoever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, bugger off. What about the 5 nations? I mean, I know it's 6 nations, but it's really only 5 nations. What do you make of that? I mean, Wales turning up for the books and taking out France the other day and doing the job.
They have to thank Scotland for that.
They do. It's actually been a really good 5 nations. All 5 nations competing for the title.
Yeah, quite right. And playing Italy in their bye week.
Yeah, that's right. Italy competing with no one for bottom of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great results. Yeah, that 27-23 win for Scotland over France was
that was awesome,
fantastic, and it was just a shame that they lost a couple of close games during that championship. They could have been champions themselves, but
where did England end up? Were they second last?
England was second last. They only won 2 games. Of course,
that the end of Eddie Jones could be the end of Eddie Jones. I reckon.
Oh yeah, is Scott Robertson the new?
Please no. Better not be. Shall we go to baseball, mate? It is opening day. It's opening day. Get your peanuts, get your popcorn. And your Yankees. And your Yankees went down in 10 innings to the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yep, they did. But yeah, as you say, opening day today. It's a great day for baseball fans. It's second only to the World Series, really, when opening day comes around, because you've had 4 or 5 months of no baseball, and then you get the spring training games, and nobody cares what the results are in those. But it now actually matters, and you've got pitches thrown in anger, bats swung in anger, and not such.
It actually feels like the beginning of a season, eh, Macca? Because there's actually people in the stands too, and
yes.
It feels like it feels exciting. It's good.
Yep. Different levels of fans throughout the country. 25% allowed in Yankee Stadium today for the Yankees home opener. 50% will be allowed at Chase Field in Arizona, and if you live in good old Texas, you can fill the stadium as much as you like.
Yeah, go and breathe on your neighbor in Texas. We don't care.
Bring your gun with you.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the Yankees lost this morning their home opener to Toronto Blue Jays. It was a real pitcher's duel. With both starters, Garrett Cole and Hyunjin Ryu, throwing 5+ innings and they both left the game with the score at 2-2, and Jays win it in extra innings. And this year they carried on one of the rules from the shortened season last year. It was when you go to extra innings, you start with a runner on second base.
Player on second. That was interesting,
whoever's supposed to lead off that inning goes straight to second base. And the Blue Jays took advantage of it and scored early in the top of the 10th inning. The Yankees just couldn't get Aaron Judge over from second base, which is a shame, because in the bottom of the 9th inning, they actually had a runner on third with only 1 out. So they blew it a bit. DJ LeMahieu, normally so reliable, hits the ball straight to third base, who just throws it straight home and gets the out. But Tigers beat the Indians in the only other completed games. And of course, opening day always throws up some postponements. 1996, the Yankees opened the season against Detroit in snow. Andy Pettit pitching with about 4 layers of clothing on, with his shirt over the top and wearing his famous gloves after every pitch, just about. But the Orioles, Red Sox, and Mets Nationals, with a couple of interesting matchups later today, have been postponed. But some later games, I think I'm going to have a look at a couple of these. Astros playing the Athletics. The Astros are struggling a bit. They've not got the side they've had in the past few years. They meet the division rival Oakland Athletics, and the retooled White Sox up against Mike Trout's LA Angels. I'm sure Trout would love a playoff run. He's been playing Major League Baseball for 10 years now and has only played 3 playoff games. So
it's criminal.
It is criminal. And your mighty Mariners, they this afternoon host the San Francisco Giants. So yes, a loss for the Yankees in game 1.
We could be ahead of the Yankees after the first game.
Still got another 161 games to make up for it.
It's literally a marathon, isn't it? It literally is.
It certainly is.
Absolutely. And also one other thing that I did see about the opening day was our old friend with the beard. Did you see that in the LA Dodgers one? Corey, the new batsman they've got, he had a home run, but he was on second. The guy with the beard, Justin Turner, was on second. The guy, did you see this? The outfielder jumped up to try and get the home run. It hit his glove and went over for a home run.
Oh,
right. Turner thought that the guy had caught it, so he turned around and ran back to the base and ran back past the runner who was running around the base. So they took away the home run.
Yeah.
I've never ever seen that before in a game of baseball. If your player overtakes another player, Justin Turner just turned around, put his head down, and ran back, and didn't even look at the guy running. I was like, that was just bizarre. I mean, that is the why I love baseball. It's like cricket, it's like one of those things you can watch for 40, 50 years, and then all of a sudden something like that happens on the opening day that you've never, ever seen before. It was just the most bizarre thing I think I've ever seen, and it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
There's been, one that sticks in mind, another interesting thing that happened on opening day about 3 years ago, I think it was. Ian Happ for the Chicago Cubs. In the first game of the season, there was only one game that opened the season this particular year. And Ian Happ from the Chicago Cubs hit a home run off the very first pitch of the season.
And that's the only time it's ever happened.
Only time that's ever happened.
Wow. That's crazy. That's awesome. What a way to start.
Quite right.
Okay. What else have we got to talk about, Macca?
Favorite topics. High performance funding.
Okay.
Well, there's been a rejig with High Performance Sport New Zealand, and apparently more sports will be in line to receive a slice of the funding pie.
Oh,
as part of their new funding strategy. The government agency last Thursday announced the introduction of a new $27.6 million aspirational fund, separate from its allocation of targeted investment. See a broader range of sports eligible, and will give up-and-coming athletes an opportunity to receive funding, rather than previously where you basically had to win an Olympic gold medal.
That's right, to get funded. So you had to fund yourself basically before you got to there. And once you got there, then you got funding. It was sort of horse before cart before, wasn't it?
Calling out for years. And
that sounds good. I mean, am I right to feel that is maybe the right track?
It is a good move. It's a great move. And yes, you will see more sports receiving some of that funding, but Sport New Zealand have still got a lot of work to do in that respect, and this is just really a start. Basically they need to. But
it's a positive start, mate. We don't often give them bouquets, do we?
No, absolutely. But now they need to extend that to their grassroots funding and give up and coming sports some support to get themselves set up so they can operate properly. I mean, again, I go back to my time at Baseball New Zealand. We got 20 grand a year from Sport New Zealand, which is pathetic. That's 4 bags of gear, basically. So how can you promote and grow a sport with 20 grand?
You have to do it. You have to do it yourself and on volunteers. That's the only way you can do it. It's basically, crowdfunding is the only way, which is crazy. So this, I mean, even though it is a drop in the bucket, 27.6 million spread amongst all the sports is nothing. But like you say, it is. I like the idea. I like the idea that it's an aspirational fund and more targeted at up and coming athletes. I like that idea, and that it's going to a broader range of sports. So let's just hope that they're on the right track with that, mate.
And we haven't done a podcast since the Hellberg Award decades were announced. The Supreme Award went to Hamish Bond and Eric Murray, the rowers.
Yeah.
Went to Richie McCaw, the women's, Lisa Carrington, the team, Bond and Murray, obviously. Coach went to Gordon Walker, Lisa Carrington's coach. Para-athlete, there was no argument with that one, Sophie Pascoe. The sporting moments, Joseph Sullivan and Nathan Cohen, they come from behind when...
That was a great moment.
Absolutely.
Mate, yeah, I remember exactly where I was. That's it. That's one of those moments when you remember, because I didn't think they had a shit show. I was just watching it was late at night, and I was in a Ponsonby bar, a very swanky bar, and they had it on the back, and everyone was sort of doing their own thing, and I was watching it. And when they started, I started screaming, and everyone's turned around and started watching the TV. And we all watched it.
It was like they had an
engine. It was an outboard motor or something. It was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. No, that was a great performance.
And the emerging talent for the decade went to Lydia Ko. I've got a couple of comments on the winners.
Go on.
The men's, mate, I love Richie McCaw. I really do. But he retired in 2015, so that's half the decade. Scott Dixon's won 4 IndyCar titles in the last 10 years. And only twice has he finished outside the top 3 in those 10 years. What does he have to do?
Play rugby.
Play rugby, yeah. His brother played football.
Yeah, well, he wasn't going to win it playing football either, mate. If we had someone like Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi in this country, and they were playing football overseas for a team that didn't win anything, and then they came back and didn't win the World Cup with us, would they be our champion of the decade? Probably not, because we'd say, oh, well, they didn't win anything. They didn't win anything. So to me, you've got to look, this is all subjective, but to me, if it's of the decade, you have to be going all the way through the decade. Like you say, 5 years. Richie is awesome. We all know he's awesome. Knight the guy already. Richie McAwesome. I mean, he walks on water already. Yeah. I'm sure he's got too much room on his medal. Scott Dixon, it would have been a great choice for me. I can't argue with you, mate. But once again, this comes back to the whole judges on the Hellbergs. They always have a forward leaning towards rugby. They always do. And that's just
rugby and Olympic Games.
Olympic Games, yeah. It was like when the footballers made the World Cup, and then we didn't lose a game at the World Cup, and then people were like, well, they didn't win anything. You're like, fuck. They're in the biggest competition in the world, It's like people just don't get it. So anyway.
The only other ones I had comments on were I was actually astonished to realise that there have only been 3 winners of the Women's Sportsperson of the Year, Sportswoman of the Year over the last decade.
That is crazy.
Won it for the first 3 years. Lydia Ko won it for the next 3, and then Lisa Carrington won it for the last 4.
That is crazy, isn't it? That is crazy. All 3 of them, though, absolute champions. I don't know whether Lydia Ko, though, should be really up there with those 2. I mean, yeah, she's a fine golfer, but women's golf really isn't the biggest sport in the world. And she was number 1 in the world, so good on her for winning it. But I mean, Val Adams and Lisa Carrington, I can't argue with either of those 2. They're both just absolute champions.
Yeah, Lisa Carrington picked up the award, and I think pretty much it would have come down to almost a toss of the coin, wouldn't it, with those 2?
Oh, absolutely.
How could you separate them with the number of world championships and Olympic medals that Val's won?
I mean, perhaps the only way you could is that one's in a field sport, so it's in the stadium. I mean, I would probably say I'd rather watch it at a stadium. I mean, get the gold medal and but yeah, I mean, they're just champions, both of them, man.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're both still going. They're both still competing.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So,
right.
And what about the sporting moment?
Yeah, that was an interesting one. As you say, I was fully behind the Sullivan Cohen moment. I remember I was actually in bed watching it.
What time? Yeah.
It was late.
It was late at night. I know I'd had a few.
Yeah. And yeah, that was a great moment. I mean, the only other ones that I could really bring into contention would have been the All Blacks when they
2011.
2011.
Yeah, that was more just the most nervous moment. That was perhaps the most squeaky bum moment. It was for the last 15 minutes. It seemed like 3 days. It just was awful.
There was a moment in the second half where the French were just absolutely
hammering us.
And there was only 1 point in it, and we won the ball in a ruck or turned the ball over, and I just sort of exhaled, and Michelle said, "Oh, it's all right."
It's the first time I heard you breathe.
Yeah. She said, "Oh, it's all right. I think you can breathe all right now." And I said, "Yeah, it's good because I haven't breathed in the last 20 minutes."
Absolutely, it was like that. Yeah. To remind, so that was more of those squeaky bum moments. But what about Grant Elliott in that 2015 Cricket World Cup semi-final against South Africa? Oh my God, that for me, that was perhaps, I don't know, it would have been surpassed by the World Cup final a couple of years ago at Lords if we had have won that game. But that game when Grant Elliott scored, it was a fantastic game too. And then just for him to hit a six, like a walk-off home run, Well,
that second innings, our turn it back. It just, over to over, it was like, yeah, we've got this. Oh, gee, I think.
Oh, I know.
We've got this. Oh, yeah. This.
Another wicket. Another wicket. Oh, yeah, it was. And like a walk-off, like I say, mate. And then the way that crowd reacted at Eden Park, I don't think I've ever seen a crowd react like that at Eden Park, ever. So for me, I think that would probably be my moment. And then the squeaky bum moment, the 2011 one. But like I say, you can, that when they did win that double sculls, that was freaking amazing too.
It was like Kiwis,
rain white, beat them all, won the cup by a length and a quarter from who did Kiwi win the cup from?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh God, come on, mate. Come on.
I don't follow people who finish second.
Mr. Jazz, noble comment. Mr. Jazz and noble comment. Those were the two horses. Mr. Jazz and noble comment. And
Kiwis come from nowhere.
Kiwis come from last in a phenomenal performance. Won the cup by a length and a quarter. Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. And great talking to you.
Our good old friend Jason Pine has been appointed content manager for Sports Entertainment New Zealand. What's this going to mean for New Zealand sports coverage?
Better sports coverage, more sports coverage, sports coverage without an agenda. Piney's a great broadcaster. I really like him. He's got a really positive outlook on life and on sports, and I'm really looking forward to hearing him on the airways, whether we hear him so much. But I think with a guy like him in charge, it has to be positive for anyone who's a sporting fan in New Zealand as far as sporting coverage goes. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've known Piney since we went to broadcasting school together in 1992, and can't speak highly enough of the guy. I think he's a great choice. I think he's going to do a great job. And sports will get some decent coverage. I mean, is this going to be seen as a replacement for Radio Sport? Is that what the plan is?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think they can do a better job than Radio Sport, to be fair. Absolutely. It's just, there were some really good journalists on Radio Sport as well, and I'd like to hear them back on the airwaves as soon as possible. There's some, there's some really good guys on there. There's Kent Johns, Nathan Rareri, Darcy Waldegrave, a lot of those guys. I don't know whether they're all going to be on there or what, but there are a lot of good journalists, good sporting journalists in this country that need a voice, and at least they'll have a place for that voice now.
Quite right. Well, I'm off to watch some more baseball.
Opening day, beautiful, mate. Great to talk to you.
Yep, off to watch some more baseball, and of course the Crusaders tonight against the lackluster Highlanders.
Go the Highlanders.
Go on the Crusaders. We'll be back again in a week or so. We'll see how our schedules go. But make sure you give us a like on YouTube and follow us on Spotify.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.